Boa noite, já é noite. Né? No primeiro dia da programação das 8 às 8, né? A gente vai para o terceiro round e vamos dar início aqui a sistemas de drenagem urbana sustentável, experimentos no norte e no sul global. Né? Nós vamos ter a presença da Mariam Imani, da Anglia Ruskin University, Chelmsford, da Maria Bernadette Souza Sender, da Inger Corps Company, de São Paulo, e de Peter Fruhl, da Universidade Técnica de Hamburgo. Nós vamos começar, então, com a Mariam, conforme combinamos aqui, e agradeço... are you listening to the translation? No? Not yet, okay, but... we will start with Marian, just thanking again your availability to come one more time to Brazil. Thank you.
Thank you. Right. Good evening, everyone. I would like to thank Anna and Renato. Oh, yes, sorry, typical academic. Would like to thank Anna and Renato for inviting us, giving us the opportunity, and it's a great pleasure to be here. As Renato said, I'm Dr. Mariam. Can you hear me? Maybe better. I'm in the gallery, I need to walk. I'm Dr. Mariam Imani, and I'm an associate professor of water systems engineering in Anglia Ruskin University in the UK. Better? I think it's like danger, no?
So you want to
Is it better? Yeah. Somehow. I stay away from that. Yeah, that would be fine. I understand that this is the last session standing between you and the end of this day, so I'm going to make it short and sweet. I hope so. My talk is not technical, very technical. I am here to also represent a working group that I'm shortly going to talk about it. Builds on the collaborations we had initially with India and Brazil that justifies why we are here. And that collaboration that organically grew towards something that formalized. I would like to officially launch that here. And this barcode you see here, I'm going to explain that in another slide, but if you scan that, will take you to International Water Association's community page and the working group that we have officially created. I'll come back to that. Before going into who we are as a working group, Anglia Ruskin University, we are located in northeast of London. 4 campuses we have: Cambridge, Chelmsford, Peterborough, and also Rethel. The main campus is in Cambridge, but I'm based in Chelmsford. So colleagues have traveled to Chelmsford. Have traveled to Chelmsford in the past. I'm not going to read the background, but as described in the introduction, I'm a water system engineer. My research is very much focused on drainage, sewer, generally wastewater infrastructure, resilience, and also optimization, asset management. And currently, with the working group, I'm going to talk about it. I'm chairing this group in also, of course, collaboration with the team. In terms of the projects that, in a sense, contribute to the principles of this working group, a number of projects have recently I've been involved, or I am involved at the moment. As you can see, is on the board. Catchment to Coast is a project that's funded by UK governments as part of Flood and Coastal Community Resilience Innovation Fund is called. It's a very interesting project. It spans over 6 years. And it looks into a catchment-based approach. I think there was a discussion about catchment approach when it comes to urban resilience, rural resilience, and heavily focused on the use of nature-based solutions to maximize flood management or improve flood management in the area. Water pollution, of course, water quality, biodiversity, as well as community resilience. So it looks at the various aspects of it, and this is one of the projects that I'm hoping very much, again, our working group can learn from that. This is something that I'm happy to discuss with anyone who is interested. The other project I'm involved is, as an advisory panel, is called Water Management Strategy, Integrated Water Management Strategy. Is a river in an area in England, around east of England, that again, it takes a catchment-based approach, looks into the use of nature-based solutions, asset management, so on and so forth, for similar reasons. This is also a very interesting project. All the elements we discussed here, from a very technical to very non-technical citizen science engagement, have been incorporated, and the project just kicked off. A couple of other projects that we are doing, very much focused on, looks into the cycle, life cycle of the sustainable drainage system. What we call it the smart sods health monitoring. Again, I think the issue of monitoring, inspection and monitoring is going to be one of the long-term challenges around sods. So good design, good construction, but when it comes to monitoring and maintenance, there are less knowledge available in that space. And the idea is we have created a number of pilot projects, proof of concept models, that looks into how sustainable drainage system over long term is going to function under the challenges it faces. So a number of projects work on that, and colleagues, the team that traveled there also looks into these projects. Another project we are about kicking off, that's a project I would say we are at the proposal stage, but we are looking into that, is around road drainage, and the use of sustainable drainage systems, and also water pollution, which is, I think, equally important as flooding. So these are the other two projects at the moment I can mention. Why these projects? Because the core concept, the core key, or overarching theme of collaboration in this working group is around the whole subject of nature-based solutions and SODs for the wider purpose of flooding, water pollution, biodiversity, community, etc., public health, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to go into details of it. Chris, my colleague here, he's a town planner. Tomorrow he's going to have a session. Talks about the context of the SODs in the UK, which is part of the Flood Water Management Act. There are lots of rules and regulations around that, and generally how it's going to be managed in the UK. But it plays a key part in the planning permission. It's part of the planning process in the UK. There is a manual for that. There are certain requirements for that, and it's managed slightly differently in each part of England. In Wales, it's different than in Scotland, it's different than in England. But gradually, it's becoming mandatory. Incorporation of sustainable drainage system becoming mandatory in England from this year, and it's going to be part of planning permission. But in Wales, it is already mandatory for new developments. Refurbished areas or areas already developed, but you want to look into that, it's going to be another challenge that we can pick it up case by cases. In the EU context, of course, colleagues we have from Germany here can reflect on that. And EU, there are other countries also equally doing good and even much better. Areas like countries like Denmark and Germany, also in Netherlands, they are championing also around incorporation of nature-based solutions, green infrastructure, and SODs. So I'm not going to go into details of it, just give you an overview of the SODs context in the UK. So in terms of who we are, the title of this working group is called Alliance for Water Sensitive Design and Planning. So the idea is to bring a multidisciplinary team together to look into that. And as discussed, we have town planners, architects, social scientists, engineers in the room, ecologists, and as you know, this is not a problem that is a multi-objective problem, I would say, or a challenge if you look at that. So it needs a multidisciplinary team to look into that. So the idea behind our group is to bring a multidisciplinary team together. We submitted an application to International Water Association, which is usually the home to water engineers, mainly engineers, I would say ecologists, environmentalists. But the idea was to bring town planners, urban planners, groups or communities or individuals that may not be traditionally a member of IWA. So the idea was to promote that idea of multidisciplinarity around that. And we are building on 3 main pillars. First of all, this is a collaboration, maximize collaboration between global, not just North and South, also between South and South. There are a lot of potentials for knowledge exchange, sharing best practices. So knowledge exchange and sharing best practices are 2 main pillars, as well as capacity building. It is something that we are very much hoping to focus on that, and we make sure that happens, while at the same time our legacy will be at multidisciplinary aspect. So we had the privilege of colleagues from, as I said, town planners, architects that IWA may not be their institute, but they joined the group. So as you can see, this is our page. If you go to International Water Association, the barcode will take you to that page. And on IWA Connect Plus, you can become a member. We welcome anyone who is interested to join this group to come along and have a chat with us. At the moment, this is the committee member. You've seen all these faces are familiar, more or less. You have met them during this event so far and the coming days. These are the team members, and as you can see, we're coming from different backgrounds. Also, we have a group of also PhDs also supporting us from each country. But we are relatively a young group in the International Water Association. As a working group, we are a young working group. The journey started from 2017, I would say, as part of UK Global Challenges Research Funding. The project kicked off called Brandia. This was at Brandia, and the idea was to maximize urban resilience with incorporation of sustainable drainage system. That was where I met Renato for the first time. So this was the starting point with the University of São Carlos. We were in São Carlos when we started there. We did a project, lots of events after that, and then collaboration continued. And so built on this project primarily. We had case studies from that project. It led to a lot of participatory events, workshops, seminars, webinars, a lot of knowledge exchange, shared experiences, perceptions, sharing, and also site visits. We had feedback, feed-forward comments, and again, heavily involved our postgraduate researchers during the process. When I say engagement, since 2017, lots of events in the UK, in Brazil, and also in India we've had. I'm not going to go through all of them, but as you can see here, our students have been also involved. One of the things that we've done, which I think it was a very interesting sort of concept, was the use of technology in maximizing this engagement. For example, here what you can see, a game we developed, serious gaming we used to maximize participation and engagement of the participants or attendees in our workshops. And different talks, different knowledge sharing and exchanges, and of course you all know this smiley face here behind the computer. And also, again, another event in India. This was last year in Mackenzie. Some of you were here, and that was in the UK. We had a number of site visits, best practices that we could nominate, again, over all these years. For example, the one at the top is Bewley Residential, or Bewley Park Residential Areas in the UK, is in Chelmsford. One of the sites that was nominated, second nominated project for SODS Award in the UK. But didn't succeed, but it was nominated, and I think it's the concept of a best practice can be more or less can be assigned to that. So we visited that site. Also last year we had also visit to a couple of favela communities. Anna had organized those projects. Very interesting. We got involved in a one day of it was a summer winter school. In proposing some solutions to tackle the issues of blocks of concrete put in the middle of supposed to be a river or a natural ecosystem, change that to that, what you see. So very interesting projects. I think that was another site in Peterborough in the UK, one of the heavily polluted industrial sites converted completely to a successful SODS project, eliminate the issue of contamination to a nearby river. And this picture we took ourselves in just before COVID closes, February 2020, we were in Sao Carlos. I think in 2 hours, couple of hours, it rained and it turned to what you can see here. And I couldn't believe it. We had just visited this channel, concreted river. I don't know for what reason the natural river was concreted entirely. And a few days later, when we were there, we saw, as a matter of 2 hours of rain, that was what we observed. We were just discussing this challenge. In terms of problem solving and capacity building, lots of PhDs, postdocs, practitioners and academics came together and involved in this project. This is again last year that, based on the site visit, the students got together, worked together. The scholarly visits we had, we have Renata here, gave a talk at ARU about her project. Natalia is in the other side, I think. Natalia, it's just you this year. And also, again, our PhDs who talked at the event last year. And this is Finn, my undergrad student who is involved in the lab, in all the hands-on dirty works that we do in the lab. He's the guy that nominated to do that. In terms of the outcomes so far, over the years, we've been trying to share whatever comes out of these collaborations. Basically, we've had the book chapters led by colleagues in India. We've had paper publications, part of Center of Excellence in India, again, water and sustainability in India. We've had publication with the Source magazine in IWA. And since we have officially became a working group, we have planned around running webinars that we have already agreed speakers in the pipeline. One of the key speakers is the lead of the project Catchment to Coast, that I am very keen to have him to speak to the community. So I'll share the link and all of that. If anybody was interested, that's a very good practice to listen to. Also, we have a proposal to write a book sharing all these best practices, whatever we've done over these years in the form of a book. We submitted to an IWA, as an IWA book. And also, we are going to write a reflective report based on the outcome of this workshop to share it with wider community. And we try to maximize the opportunities that networks of this type can create to maximize potentials between global north and south, as well as south-south, which I think are equally. The working group benefits a lot from the very knowledgeable, very experienced people who are involved in this space. In terms of the talks, Suresh in the morning gave it, in the afternoon, the first slot, I think in the afternoon gave a talk. So you have already, I suppose you've been there. And tomorrow also Balaji and Murthy, Renato himself, and also Chris in this time slots are going to give a talk. So watch the space for their talk as well. Of course, lots of work and lots of fun too. We have had fun and lots of it. So these are I couldn't accommodate because I couldn't carry my USB, didn't have a space to put everything here. But we've had the best pizza. It's just a neighbor restaurant. No offense to Italians, but I think that was the best one. We've had that. We celebrated birthday in December. When was it? December. I couldn't believe that. We're having ice cream. And also, you can't visit Cambridge without visiting the Eagle Pub. So giving a taste of British culture. Chris, did I miss anything? No. And thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. Então, vamos introduzir aqui a Maria Bernadette Souza Sender, que ela é você? Sim, é engenheira civil, mestre em hidráulica, e trabalha na Engecorps, que é uma empresa bastante importante na área de produção de projetos de infraestrutura hidráulica. Bem, passo já para você direto. Sim.
Bom, deixa eu ver. Vamos ver se tudo vai funcionar. Bom, boa noite, então, a todos. Obrigado pelo convite. É a primeira vez que a gente está participando desse encontro aqui no Mackenzie, né? E como o encontro, olhando o programa, eu vi muitos, né, em geral, professores, a universidade, a academia, instituições governamentais. Eu fiquei pensando o que eu poderia trazer, né? Que eu sou de uma empresa de consultoria, Engecorps Engenharia. Então, o que eu pensei e resolvi trazer para vocês aqui é um pouco da nossa experiência. O que a gente tem projetado, são estudos de caso, o que a gente tem projetado de drenagem, e eu tentei trazer sempre aonde a gente consegue incorporar drenagem sustentável nos problemas reais que aparecem no nosso escritório. A parte de drenagem, em geral, o nosso cliente é um cliente público, ou é um governo de estado, ou é uma secretaria de recursos hídricos, ou é uma prefeitura municipal. Então, vou tentar falar aqui rapidamente, deixa eu ver se eu me encaixo. Então, eu queria mostrar para vocês 4 casos reais que passaram pelo escritório, né? Então, um problema de microdrenagem, que é esse primeiro, um problema de macrodrenagem, que eu vou falar da região metropolitana de São Paulo, da bacia do Alto Tietê, o trabalho que a gente fez faz 10 anos, está fazendo aniversário, e aqui um problema de poluição difusa, um trabalho que a gente fez recentemente para o DAEE, e, por fim, aqui é um estudo, não está relacionado com drenagem, mas com riscos hidrológicos, um trabalho que a gente está fazendo para a Prefeitura de Belo Horizonte, que é a avaliação de riscos hidrológicos para poder dar subsídios para a operação e manutenção de um sistema BRT que eles vão implantar na cidade. Então, o primeiro que eu vou falar é o de Joinville, foi até um dos motivos que acho que nós fomos convidados aqui. Nesse caso, a gente fez um trabalho, era um problema de microdrenagem de um bairro da cidade de Joinville, era um bairro com 32 mil habitantes, não é tão pequeno, e envolvia mais ou menos 40 quilômetros de arruamento, né? Parte desse arruamento já estava pavimentado. Vila Nova, em Joinville. É esse bairro que está aqui delimitado, né? Quais eram as condições de contorno? A gente tinha que considerar todos os limites do bairro, os limites das ruas, limites das calçadas. A gente não podia mexer com nada, nem com a infraestrutura existente. E na infraestrutura existente tinha rede de água passando nas calçadas, rede de esgoto, inclusive a drenagem pluvial. Então, a drenagem, os sistemas que a gente projetou de drenagem sustentável, eles foram complementares, porque o sistema de drenagem convencional não estava suportando já as chuvas na região. Então, ele foi complementar. Como a gente teve que trabalhar, não era nada novo, era tudo existente, a gente não podia mexer nas dimensões, nós fomos, basicamente, abrindo espaços onde a gente poderia implementar uma solução de engenharia. Então, metade das ruas estavam sem pavimentação, era de chão batido, e nessas ruas sem pavimentação, a gente implantou um pavimento permeável, um sistema de paver intertravado, com juntas intertravadas, e as tipologias de SUDs que a gente conseguiu implementar, então, são todas essas. A gente considerou calçada drenante, às vezes ela inteira com um pavimento permeável, às vezes com uma borda de grama, trincheiras de infiltração, jardins de chuvas e os supertubos como reservatórios, que eram tubos de 1 metro de diâmetro. Importante do que eu vi do comentário anterior é que aqui era um trabalho piloto para a prefeitura implantar, para treinar os funcionários da prefeitura, e, junto com essas unidades, também a gente projetou 2 praças, 2 parques, que eram parques vitrines, para que a população pudesse saber o tipo de unidade que a gente estava implantando e como preservar e fazer a manutenção dessas atividades. Eu não trouxe com detalhes essa apresentação, porque eu quis mostrar outros casos, mas aqui foi projeto executivo. Então, a gente tem o custo de implantação de cada uma dessas tipologias, né, que a gente apresentou. Não sei se eu vou apresentar certo aqui, mas essas planilhazinhas, esses gráficos estão em português, mas, por exemplo, a calçada drenante, em função da profundidade, da largura, né? Para cada uma, a gente tem um valor de custo unitário. Fizemos um manual de operação, então, a gente tem os custos de operação. Eu não trouxe os custos de operação aqui, porque eu tinha outras coisas para mostrar e não achei que tivesse o foco. Mas a gente indicou o equipamento, de quanto em quanto tempo faria o corte, que tipo de atividade, a equipe na manutenção dessas unidades de drenagem sustentável. Então, foi um projeto executivo e ele foi implementado, né? Ele já a obra está em andamento e já tem várias partes aí implementadas. A questão da macrodrenagem de São Paulo, que eu queria trazer, também de uma maneira muito rápida, né? Porque a região metropolitana de São Paulo, a bacia do Alto Tietê, pega aqui 39 municípios. Foi um trabalho muito grande, muito demorado. Esse trabalho já tem 10 anos, foi feito por DAE, aqui em São Paulo. É um trabalho que merece uma atualização, mas foi um trabalho feito assim, 2 anos foi só coleta de dados. Como estão os principais drenos, qual que é a calha desse dreno, se já foi retificado, se não foi, todo o sistema de drenagem. Lógico, tudo em São Paulo é uma infinidade de dados, mas, assim, tudo que possível a gente conseguiu cadastrar, inclusive todos os projetos existentes, de todos os piscinões implantados, a gente calibrou o sistema considerando o ponto de operação dos piscinões, e todos aqueles que foram planejados foram considerados aqui nesse trabalho do PDMAT. Então, toda a modelagem resultante daqui e toda a vazão excedente que não cabia dentro dos macrodrenos é uma vazão excedente, considerando que tudo que a prefeitura já tinha pensado, ela ia construir. Tá? Então, o problema de uma região metropolitana com 22 milhões de habitantes e com uma área dessa magnitude é um problema muito grande, que pode ser minimizado, às vezes, localmente, com unidades, com sistemas de drenagem sustentável, mas que esses sistemas não vão conseguir encarar o desafio que uma região desse porte, que um problema dessa complexidade exige, né? Então, aqui, e aí, por que eu trouxe aqui? Na época do PNEMAT, a gente estudou a impermeabilização do solo de São Paulo. Então, nós estamos fazendo projetos de obras de drenagem, de convencionais, são grandes projetos, são coisas imensas, vocês vão ver as soluções, mas a gente não deixou de lado a preocupação com a impermeabilização. Então, nós fizemos um levantamento de 100 pontos de amostragem, de quadrículas, se eu não me engano, eu acho que eram de 5 por 5 quilômetros, e fizemos o levantamento com o Google para saber qual que é a área impermeável e qual que era a área não permeável. Inclusive, com o Google Street, a gente caminhava debaixo das copas das árvores, porque, às vezes, você vê uma área toda verde, mas, a hora que você vai ver, só sobra um quadradinho de 10 por 10, onde sobe o caule da árvore. E os dados que nós tínhamos no passado era que a maioria das cidades, elas caminhavam para ter um percentual de impermeabilização de 60% de área impermeável. E o que a gente descobriu e levantou, e já faz 10 anos, é que a taxa de impermeabilização da região metropolitana está em 90%, ou seja, tudo que chove, escoa, tudo que cai, escoa, nada mais infiltra. E nós fizemos amostragens tanto na malha urbana principal, como outras nas cidades periféricas. E o que a gente vê é que as cidades periféricas também têm a mesma cultura e seguem impermeabilizando tudo. Então, um pouquinho para falar de São Paulo, só para dizer que um plano dessa grandeza ele acaba sendo direcionado para grandes obras de infraestrutura, mas não significa que o caso de bairro a bairro, você deve tomar cuidado e deve tentar transformar e deve tentar mudar a característica de impermeabilização aí desse solo. Para vocês terem uma ideia, nós damos várias alternativas, e até para vocês terem uma ideia até do custo de uma solução para São Paulo, né? Essa alternativa que envolvia quase 7 bilhões de reais à época, e a alternativa só para a situação da calha do Tietê era um túnel saindo da Foz do Tamanduateí, percorrendo quase 50 quilômetros, jogando aqui a jusante de Rasgão, e era um túnel com um diâmetro equivalente de 17 metros, que ainda existem técnicas de engenharia para se construir um túnel desse, mas acima de 14 metros, 13 metros, já são técnicas específicas, assim, mais complicadas de engenharia. Então, são soluções que quase a gente fala assim, daqui a pouco não vai ter mais solução de engenharia para o tanto de água que estou em São Paulo, né? A outra solução que a gente julgou até mais promissora foi a questão de rebaixamento da calha do Tietê. Era um trecho de rebaixamento só e um trecho subsequente de rebaixamento com aumento da declividade. Mas é um tipo de solução que causa muito transtorno para a população local, né? O túnel você faz por métodos não destrutivos e o transtorno é menor. Então, uma solução dessa saía mais barato, mas foi feita toda uma avaliação de impacto ambiental também, e a parte de transtorno na população, essa alternativa foi uma alternativa que pecou bastante. Outro problema que aparece no escritório, que é a questão da poluição difusa. A gente fez um trabalho recente para Mogi das Cruzes. Mogi das Cruzes é um município da região metropolitana de São Paulo, da bacia do Alto Tietê, e esse trecho, essa quadrícula, lá no plano de macrodrenagem, o PDT, ele separou a bacia, ele definiu vários distritos de drenagem. E esse distrito aqui que é justo na entrada do município de Mogi das Cruzes, verificou-se que a qualidade da água do rio Tietê é o ponto que ela começa a piorar de uma maneira muito intensa, tem um aporte muito grande de carga orgânica. Então, o DAE queria que a gente fizesse um diagnóstico da onde vem essa carga orgânica, é toda a carga orgânica difusa ou não, e qual a solução para isso daí, para a gente começar a resolver o problema da qualidade do Tietê de montante para jusante. Nós fizemos, para fazer a avaliação da poluição difusa, a gente fez aproveitamos um projeto, se eu não me engano, acho que foi desenvolvido no FCTH, não me lembro, para coletar a água de primeira chuva. Então, a gente instalou diversos coletores nas bocas de lobo para que pudéssemos ter as amostras que foram para o laboratório e foram levantadas em 2 campanhas. Uma campanha a gente pegou o início da chuva, logo após um período seco, a primeira chuva, e depois repetimos a campanha já no meio do período chuvoso, né? Então, mostrou que tinha um aporte de carga orgânica muito grande aqui na época das primeiras chuvas. O município de Mogi das Cruzes é um município que não tem o problema, embora a região metropolitana, embora São Paulo, é um município que não tem a questão de esgotamento resolvido. Então, tem áreas que sequer têm sistema de coleta de esgoto e tem áreas que têm coleta de esgoto, mas os esgotos não são levados para a estação de tratamento. Então, as soluções previstas também não são soluções simples para tudo isso, né? Então, a gente previu, em alguns lugares, parques lineares, inserindo wetlands nesses parques, então, fazendo o desvio dos córregos, mas, obviamente, as soluções convencionais, aqui também tivemos que optar por... A rede de esgoto é óbvio, né, que não tem como não terminar a parte de esgotamento sanitário. A parte dos piscinões, continuamos, não tem como a gente se livrar dos piscinões, eles podem ser otimizados, mas não tem solução sem eles. E aqui a gente considerou uma modificação nos piscinões para ter uma câmara para coletar as águas da primeira chuva, e essa parte de primeira chuva ser direcionada para tratamento. E também tivemos que usar as tais URQs, que são unidades recuperadoras de qualidade da água, como foi feito para a despoluição do Rio Pinheiros, né? Aqui também foi uma solução grande, complexa, que para aquela região foi, vamos dizer, quase 2 bilhões de reais, essa somatória de soluções. E falando rapidamente aqui de Belo Horizonte, então, é um sistema, a Belo Horizonte vai implantar um BRT, cerca de 8 quilômetros, mas é numa bacia que tem a bacia do córrego Arrudas, que é muito conhecido, que tem muito problema de enchente. Então, nós fizemos essa proposta de planejamento e monitoramento. Vai ter um sistema de acompanhamento de chuva, radar, você vai ter a previsão da chuva chegando. Mas eu vou mostrar para vocês aqui também que nesse caso, a gente também agregou um pouco de soluções baseadas na natureza. Então, tem o sistema aqui inicial, que é toda a modelagem hidrológica, hidráulica, para você prever as chuvas possíveis, os eventos críticos, quais serão as inundações que elas irão causar. Tem a parte do monitoramento de radar, de postos FLU e PLU, e tem a parte da operação do sistema, para você ver se você pode... simplesmente o sinal de alerta, se você vai ter que fechar uma estação, se você vai ter que fazer um desvio de tráfego ou não. E aí, nós aproveitamos e, no corredor Amazonas, que é uma avenida muito importante de Belo Horizonte, a gente propôs instalar também os sistemas de drenagem sustentável, que a gente entende que é uma forma de fazer propaganda do sistema, de você comunicar à população da importância da drenagem, e a gente analisou os tipos que se aplicavam para aquela região. Então, foi feita vamos dizer, uma vistoria para encontrar, por exemplo, ilhas aí que não são aproveitadas no meio da avenida, então podem ser transformadas ou em trincheiras, em alguns lugares, áreas que você poderia considerar implantar um jardim de chuva, próprias calçadas drenantes, né? Então, isso daí para contar, que junto com um projeto, aí, vamos dizer, de planejamento e operação de um sistema de saúde pública, de transporte público, a gente inseriu também essa vertente de tentar usar a drenagem sustentável, tentar divulgar, fazer propaganda e educar a população nesse sentido. Gente, era isso que eu tinha que falar, falei meio rápido, eu agradeço aí a presença de todos nessa hora, aí, depois de um dia aí de palestras e discussões. Obrigada, boa noite.
Bem, obrigado, Maria, pela apresentação. A Engecorp realmente é uma empresa com uma experiência aplicada, né, de projetos de uma escala que a gente da academia fica olhando assim, falando, puxa, que bacana. Bem, tenho a honra de chamar o meu amigo Peter Frohle, que é professor de engenharia hidráulica na Universidade Técnica de Hamburgo. Ele tem um trabalho na área em estudos, vários estudos de hidrodinâmica costeira, tem de transporte de sedimentos. Ele vai explicar melhor. He will explain better introduction for your experience. So, very welcome here in São Paulo again. No, it's your first time. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, yeah, thanks for introduction, even if I didn't understand it, but nothing bad. Yeah, I expect that. Okay, so it's late for my body. It's almost midnight, and it's one of the last presentation, or the last presentation before we have the discussion. It's a pleasure for me to be here, to be invited by you two in general, and thank you for that. And thanks for the people in the room that they are still here after a long day, which started at 8 or 8:15 in the morning, and now it's almost 8, so 12 hours of intensive discussions lay behind us. I would talk a little bit about sustainable urban drainage systems, requirements, functionalities, limitations, and experiences in northern Germany. And I hope that I can make it and give you an insight. I try to give some examples, some photographs on how they look like and how we implement it, which may or may not be an example for other areas in the world. One thing is clear, any measure adapted in any place of the world has to fit into the environment where it is installed. It cannot be transferred without thinking from one area to the others. So, brief introduction, then what is SATS? SATS is a part of the drainage system. We had a very nice discussion after the last session about the sense and meaning of SATS, then general functions and more limitations, and then a few examples of experiences, and I hope that I will have enough time at the end of the day. What are we talking about? We are talking about floods and floodings, and that may have different causes. So we can have coastal or fluvial floodings, we can have lake floodings, and we can have pluvial floodings, or we may have combination, multi-hazards in certain areas. We may have, let's say, small scale effects or micro drainages. We may have macro drainages, and the floodings which we saw in the last impressive presentation, where the cars are washed away, cannot be solved with SATS only. You always need then additional measurement. We are talking about risk and consequences, and risk in my understanding, our understanding, is probability times consequences, and the SATS are or may be one possibility to reduce the probability of the floods. This is one thing, to install them in intelligent positions in the catchment or the sub-catchments in order to reduce that. We have different sources, and different sources have different measures to mitigate the consequences of that, and we are looking basically at pluvial pluvial I lost the word. Pluvial systems, where we have the urban drainage systems, where SADs may play a role or play a role, and we have controlled surface conveyance, which is then the things. So, one definition, there are many words for SADs. So we heard a little bit about the development, low impact development, water sensitive urban design, best management practices, alternative drainage techniques, green infrastructure. If you look through the history, then it was SADs, and we at UHH, together with one of my colleagues, Sandra Helmers, defined LSDM, local scale draining measures, as a word for that, and we define it in a way that it's a drainage structure which operates close to the location where the surface runoff is generated, so as near as the source as possible, by means of a cascade of local measures. The stormwater is managed in a natural way, so we want to go into a more natural water cycle and therefore sustainable way by using the processes of infiltration, evapotranspiration, and rainwater harvesting or storage at the source. So this is how we define it and how we want to design it. For me, it's still an engineering task to design these measures. What are the measures? We heard them. I brought some pictures. So we have source control measures like green roofs, rainwater reuse, permeable pavements, infiltration techniques, filters, trenches, drains and strips, sockways, rain gardens, detention structures, swale, ponds, wetlands, bioretention areas, and if we are looking at bigger pictures, also multifunctional rooms. And they are normally installed in local sub-catchment of bigger catchments, so on plots, on smaller plots in a smaller area. And we need to understand also this kind of system and also describe this kind of system. So they play on a local scale, 1 to 100 square meters or a little bit bigger district scale. So this is the main application of this, or the size of the individual SADs, and we hope to have that they have benefits on all temporal scales, but mostly they have in the very short-term processes they have good effects, and on the very long-term water balances they have. If we have these torrent rainfalls, which we saw in the last video, then of course they are normally under-designed for this kind of measures. So some photographs, green roofs, they have of course a hydrological function, but they look nice, and this is also the second thing. It's a nicer environment, and for me it's a nice drainage system in comparison to the green one. Then we have unsealing of areas, so these areas used to be sealed, and they are unpaved, and at least the area has the possibility to have a kind of natural infiltration, and if we want to make it a little bit different and more resistant, then we can have a kind of permeable pavements where we also transfer a sealed area into an unsealed area in order to try to get a more natural way. We can support the infiltration and the natural way with swales, but we have to ensure that the water finds its way through the swales. So this is a smaller scale swale, this is a bigger scale swale, but the water has to find the way from the source, which is on the green roof or on the street, to the swale for infiltration. So from green roofs to swales in different ways, and they may be technically or near natural, but they have to be maintained. If this is a kind of rill, it has to be a rill also for the future to find its way to the swale or the infiltration place. That means that the user has to understand what's going on his plot and to maintain it. Other examples for urban areas, just some photographs, and then if we bring that all together, then we end up in multifunctional rooms where the streets have a function, the sporting areas has function, the roofs have functions, and they have all water-related functions in an area. So, part of an approach, we want to, let's say, treat the water as close to the source as possible. So we want to store it either here in the green roof or infiltrate it here directly on the area, or guide it in a way that they find the way to the swales and other infiltration system before they finally end at the water course on the one-way via the groundwater or as surface water. And here you see there are several connections to the gray infrastructure, so to the stormwater, the classical stormwater network which we have. So we need that both. In order to dimension it, we need to plan the path of the water in the environment. This is a very data and modeling intensive way if we really want to quantify the water amounts and the pathways of the water. We will talk about that tomorrow. We have discussed that already, but we'll do that a little bit tomorrow. Applicability and limitations. So typical green roofs, if they are dry, they have a storage capacity, and these are typical values from a German provider of green roofs, which is between 5 liter per square meter up to almost 30 liter per square meter. And if they are dry, then this is quite an amount of water which they can store before the water is drained then into the classical sewer system or into the other sites. But if they are full, from this point they have the same discharge as any classical grass. The swales need, of course, a sufficient distance to the groundwater layer. If I have the groundwater, like in the Netherlands, directly under the swale, doesn't make sense. So there needs to be a distance, and we need a minimum of soil permeability, which has to be guaranteed, of course, in the design phase, but also for the future. That was also one discussion point we had earlier. So they have to be carefully designed, and also this, what I said, is the conveyance system, the rills. Of course, they are also technical things. They have a flow capacity, and once this flow capacity is exceeded, then the water is going where it once follows the gravity in general. So there are lots of design questions and a lot of limitations these kinds have. So still have some time to show some examples. I will show multifunctional spaces, green roof strategies, water playgrounds, and water-sensitive developments, multifunctional spaces, and there I have a film which is, of course, in German from the area. So this is a sports ground, and under the sports ground, yeah, you see there's a water storage, yeah, under the area, and the water is then transferred, yes, to the playground, and under the playground we have an infiltration area, an infiltration system, which directly brings the water into the ground. But if you have heavy rainfall, yeah, and the capacity exceeded, then we have the kind of pond here in this playground. Not playground. This sports ground cannot be used for several hours, 5-6 hours, and then the water is infiltrated and we have it at the source, which is, in my opinion, quite a good idea. Hamburg has a green roof strategy, so this is the very optimistic version of the green roof strategy. You get support if you transfer your roof to a green roof, but in existing environments this is very complicated because of the loads of this kind of green roofs and the added water. So if we have, let's say, 30 liter per square meter, means 30 additional kilograms plus the green roof, which is then from the engineering point of view maybe problematic. But this is still a vision in order to store, and in Hamburg scales this 30 liter or even 20 liter would be 50% to 75% of a quite strong rainfall event. So that would be very beneficial for the flooding. And another example, not from Hamburg, there was an IKEA building near Bergen in Norway where they have a 22,000 square meter of green roof on the area, which is impressive to me. Water playgrounds, multifunctional room, a playground, which is a playground when it's not raining, and a water storage when it's raining. And typical German behavior, what is if the kids are playing there and it starts with a heavy rain? Will they be endangered? Will they have problems surviving that? So very typical discussion we have. So this is not so easy. Yeah, water sensitive developments, basically on public buildings, where the public authorities have the development in hand. So if they renovate a school, then they normally do it in a water sensitive way, with green roofs, with storages, with groundwater supply in a good way, in order to have a minimum surface runoff from this kind of areas, to protect the grey infrastructure from getting flooded. Some conclusions. Such are one measure, or a measure, to reduce and delay the runoff of stormwater. Yeah, they are possibility to positively influence the rainfall runoff system in urban areas, basically. They are classical parts of water management, so infiltration measures are used for hundreds of years. Rills, where you convey the water, are used for hundreds of years, so nothing new. We have a different name for that. They are not the solution, but they can be a part of the solution. And the implementation of such imply a water-sensitive approach and water-sensitive planning. So we have to think about water in advance, in order to have this kind of water-sensitive planning. And vice versa, water-sensitive planning needs such to be successful. We show the general applicability And of course, the engineering part of it, yes, we need the approaches, and simulation calculation methods are necessary to quantify the effects in a way that we don't have to say it's better than nothing, yeah, but that we can really quantify. We have a reduction of 10%, 15%, or 20% in stormwater discharge in a way. Thank you. Oh, yes, additional regulatory measures, yeah, limitation of runoff from areas. This is not really a SAT, but regulation measure which has been applied in Hamburg, that there is a maximum discharge from plots or areas if you have a new development on that, which gives then additional benefits. Thank you for your attention.
Então vamos agora seguir, temos um tempinho para debate. Peço todos, Peter, Maria, Ariane, e a Renata vai coordenar o debate. Please, we will have this time for a debate, and Renata will coordinate this debate. We can shift for English if you... there's no translation for them?
My best. I'll try my best. Thank you very much for the presentations. I'll coordinate the debate. So I would like to open for everybody to see if you have any comments. Anyway, all the presentations were very interesting and complemented. I would have some questions, but I will let people ask first.
Great, thank you. I'll start with a reflection from the whole day, the presentations that we had during the whole day. And then I'll provoke you guys to see how interacting you are with other communities. During the whole day, we heard about hydrology, hydrological modeling. We heard about drainage. We heard about water management. But perhaps it was implicit, but nobody mentioned about forecasts, weather, meteorological forecasts. So the integration of the meteorology and the hydrology, which is important on operational aspects. For the World Meteorological Organization, this is extremely important because a lot of rain not necessarily causes floods. Light rain may cause flood. So we did hear about perhaps more on the nowcasting, short-term, radar, it's going to rain, get out. But what about the other time scales? Classic NWP, numerical weather prediction, a few days, or subseasonal, 10 to 2 weeks, in preparation to reduce the risk of those living. So my provocation to this particular panel here, how much in the operational sense are you working with operational centers in your countries, transferring this knowledge from the academia to the operational part in terms of this is the state of the art in hydrological modeling. And you guys, DWD in Germany, for example, or the Met Office in the UK, and so on. How is this transfer of knowledge between the academia and operational centers to have this integration of weather prediction and sometimes even near-term climate prediction to and hydrological modeling?
Tem mais alguém com questões? Então pode, não.
Okay, I can start you, so you know the German system quite well. So of course, there's an official weather forecast, and from this official weather forecast, there's also an official, let's say, flooding forecast or flood warning system, which is then operated by the federal states, because it's the task of the federal states. In terms of exchange, yes, we are exchanging, we are developing hydrological models at universities and in combination with research institutions, and communicate that into the responsible authorities, and they apply it or not. So if that depends on the purpose of their forecast. So there is a clear exchange between academia and practice, but as always, so let's say universities tend to be like having ups and downs or high variability, and for the, let's say, reliable forecast, you need something more smooth. So that needs some time to bring that into the systems.
Sure. Absolutely right. In the UK, it's a metafis system, and as you know, on the government website, an environment agency, based on your postcode, you can search and see, in terms of, let's say, flood risk, different types of flood, pluvial flood risk, fluvial flood risk, groundwater flood risk. You can exactly identify which kind of area. Are you in a low risk, medium risk, or a high risk area? Based on that, you can identify, and all the flood warning system are building on that. One of the things that perhaps academia can also play a role, there are a lot of NGOs enabling this, I would say, flood management in local communities, and certainly academia is a platform to raise those awareness around what does it mean for a local community, especially part of the preparations that are needed in relation to any scale of flooding. We can talk about that. And I think there are stormwater prediction systems also are putting in place with a lot of data that is collected, not just by Metafis, a lot of other organizations also play a part in here. There is a collective effort. Sometimes you feel there are too many platforms, how to combine them. There is a bit of a confusion which one plays a role, but certainly academia plays the role of that connecting point. One more thing I would like to add to that, when we talk about the concept of resilience, interchangeably in many contexts is used, but when you want to characterize and in order to call a system a resilience system, then it needs to have certain characteristics in place. It needs to know and characterize the threats. It needs to understand and characterize the system. It needs to understand the impact and make a distinction between impact and consequence. And also there needs to be a learning process in place. Adaptation, mitigation, coping, and learning comes as part of this whole. And time is a very important factor from a short term to a long term. That's what distinguishes resilience from the concept of risk, because the time factor comes in. And you can't call a community resilient when it doesn't incorporate and doesn't embed a long-term vision into that. Certainly, I am with you on the whole importance of the time factor. Certainly.
Bom, Nico, eu não sou nem da academia, nem de instituições, mas a nossa experiência como empresa de consultoria, assim, eu acho que São Paulo é um bom exemplo. Vou tirar o fone de ouvido. São Paulo é um bom exemplo. Agora, quando a gente fez esse trabalho para Belo Horizonte, a gente teve que fazer um benchmarking de como funcionavam os sistemas de previsão, né, avaliação dos riscos e como fazer isso retornar, né, para uma operação e planejamento do sistema. No caso lá, era a parte de transportes. E o sistema de São Paulo foi muito elogiado. E a gente acabou entrando em contato novamente. Acho que quem poderia falar bem aqui era o pessoal do FCTH, né, que opera o SAISP. Mas o sistema que a gente fez uma concepção apenas, né, para Belo Horizonte, foi todo inspirado nesse sistema de São Paulo, que trabalha com a previsão, né, de chuvas do radar, com o monitoramento de todas as estações e o retorno para o sistema operacional de trânsito. Então, eu não sei isso, assim, fora do Brasil, se essa experiência que São Paulo tem muitos problemas, né? Mas tem muita gente boa que trabalha aqui e opera com esses dados, né? Então, em São Paulo, os dados da academia são usados, né? O FCTH usa e disponibiliza aí para a parte de operação do sistema.
Oi. Vou me permitir fazer em português, porque eu quero ouvir a resposta em português também. Para Maria Bernadette. A gente estava conversando antes, e em que pese o tema da mudança climática de ser muito abrangente, só mostra como é difícil de abarcar todas as áreas, as frentes de pesquisa. Então, por exemplo, segurança hídrica é um tema que não apareceu na programação desse evento, ironicamente, mas eu acho que é um tema também estratégico para a questão da mudança climática. E eu vi estudando o Plano Nacional de Segurança Hídrica que a ENG Corps participou da elaboração do plano, bem como do Atlas Águas. Uma coisa que chama a atenção no PNSH é o vulto de investimento, como o CB mostrou, da ordem de bilhões, dezenas, centenas de bilhões, e que esse vulto aumenta de 2019 para 2021 no Atlas Águas, né? Eu não lembro os valores agora, mas é o dobro ou o triplo, só para abastecimento de água. Quer dizer, para uma demanda mais específica, o custo de investimento é muito maior do que o previsto anteriormente. Então, eu queria que você pudesse fazer um panorama, ou, de repente, destacar 3 aspectos relevantes do PNSH e dos desdobramentos que ele tem tido.
Obrigada pela pergunta. Eu tinha até discutido com a Ana Paula se falava do PNSH aqui ou não. O PNSH é um Plano Nacional de Segurança Hídrica. Ele teve uma parte, metade do trabalho dele foi o desenvolvimento de um indicador para medir, valorar em cada bacia, em cada otobacia do Brasil, qual que é o nível de segurança hídrica, e esse indicador foi desenvolvido para avaliar escassez de água, por isso que eu acabei não colocando aqui hoje. E o PNSH, em termos de portfólio de obras que ele propôs, que é o programa, que é como resolver o problema de escassez de água no Brasil, ele considerou obras de grande porte, obras cuja capacidade fosse acima de 2 metros cúbicos por segundo. Por isso que o Atlas Brasil ele é complementar, o Atlas não. Tudo que não entrou no PNSH foi avaliado pelo Atlas. Então, qualquer unidade, qualquer captação, qualquer ETA, qualquer adutora entrou aqui no Atlas, né? Então, eles são obras assim, complementares. A gente tentou avaliar a questão de cheias também, mas o trabalho foi muito grande e a gente resolveu assim, definir e detalhar bastante a escassez e conseguir medir a escassez. A escassez foi medida considerando o conceito global da ONU, que é água em quantidade e qualidade adequada para todos os fins. Então, era o uso urbano, abastecimento econômico, todos os usos econômicos. Tinha também a questão de resiliência, então você teria que ter resiliência nos sistemas para atendimento, abastecimento de água e também para manutenção do ecossistema. Então, o PNSH fez toda essa abordagem com relação aí ao uso da água. Então, no Brasil, dos 5.570 municípios, eu não lembro quantas otobacias a gente tem, talvez a Raquel lembra, dezenas de otobacias, cada micro pedacinho de bacia hidrográfica, segundo a base que a Ana usa, para todas elas a gente tem o balanço hídrico, sabe, todos os usos, se é para irrigação, se é para indústria, se é para abastecimento urbano, e tem uma solução para essa escassez. Eu acho que isso tanto o PNSH como o Atlas, eles são instrumentos para subsidiar o governo na tomada de decisão. Diferente dos exemplos que eu trouxe aqui, dos cases da Engecorps, que é o governo vem para a gente estudar uma solução para um determinado problema, ou é de poluição difusa, ou de microdrenagem ou macrodrenagem. Esses outros estudos que você citou foram feitos para a ANA, Agência Nacional de Águas, então é um portfólio de soluções. E o que a gente fez foi identificar um indicador para saber, eu tenho certeza que precisa daquela solução? Porque tem muitas vezes são investimentos astronômicos, o Brasil é tudo grande, né? Então, a ideia era, sem arrependimento, eu tenho dados que comprovam que essa obra é necessária? Então, esse que eu acho que é o grande diferencial do trabalho. Tá bom? Obrigada.
Any more questions?
Yeah, this is in response to the first question asked about nowcasting and then hydrological modeling and then how the rainfall prediction. I'm from India, and then probably we have a lot in common with Brazil. So if I go, many of our cities get flooded, and then we have a lot of problem, not only property loss, human loss. So if I go and then ask my city commissioner, either in Chennai or Bangalore or anything, that I want to work with you and then I want to do sustainable urban drainage systems, I can tell you, I find it, the doors closed. They say, if you can give us a flood warning system, wherein I know where it is going to flood it, and then I want to have very good high resolution, spatial resolution, not just saying that northern part of the city or southern part of the city, if you can go and then block-wise prediction. And then you start 2 days earlier, taking radar data, and then you start doing, you put a lot of your sensors, rainfall sensors, and then nowcasting. And if you go and then talk to them about saying we will provide that kind of a thing, yes, everything gets open. In fact, that was our very recent experience with Bangalore. And we have been trying to talk to them, and finally when we said we will use the nowcasting and everything, we'll give you this flood prediction, they agreed, and then we said, okay, after this we operationalize your flood forecasting system, will you allow us to help you with your drainage system design? They said yes. But that's the way it works, because they have to solve the problem right away. Then they can think of long-term planning. Sustainable urban drainage system is how to prevent fires. Flood warning system is, how to prevent fires is the flood, whatever sustainable drainage systems. And flood warning is how to fight the fire.
Thank you very much for the comment. Now, anyone want to comment, or are we open for a new question? Final comments and yes. Any question? Well, I would like to make 3 questions and then end the session. One for Marion, which would be the next step for the group, our group. The other one for Maria Bernadette. I would like to know about I was very interested in the micro drainage system from Joinville. And it's very interesting to have data about the costs. I think we don't have a lot, so I would like to know if we could share something related to that. And the questions are, did it solve the problem or not of helping the traditional system? And also if you have any system of quantifying the retention. And finally for Peter, I would like to say I think we all share this difficulty of with this challenge of quantifying the SUD's efficiency, to prove and to convince the public authorities. So I think, how do you think we could face the challenge better?
Sure. Regarding the next step for the working group, as I said, it benefits from a wealth of knowledge and experience of prominent members of it, obviously the colleagues that I work with. The first thing we would like, the aspiration, the big picture is to have as many people as possible to share their best practices. Lots of very interesting cases and examples today at these sessions I attended. They shared the knowledge and experience. These lessons needs to be shared, needs to be heard, and we would like to be the platform for that. SaaS or nature-based solution, I would say relatively comparing to the traditional one, is still evolving. It is on this maturity path. So we would like to play a part in bringing this knowledge and facilitating the conversation between global north and south and between south and south, certainly. That's the aspiration or vision. At least that's what I can think of, but I'm sure that colleagues have their own views. And also what's important is that what I can summarize Peter's point about SOTS, its capability shouldn't be overestimated, and at the same time shouldn't be underestimated. I am 100% agree with you. It complements what's been practiced, and we're hoping that we will be able to advocate that. Some lessons that lessons learned in global north can be prevented or not be repeated at least in global south. These are the things that we can share that and localize that in their context. So we're hoping that the conversations that are necessary in this space will go ahead, and certainly capacity building is still at the heart of it. So we're hoping to expand that work. Thank you.
Bom, a parte de custos, como eu comentei, o valor total do custo para aquela região foi, se eu não me engano, 47 milhões, e era uma região, vamos supor, com 40 quilômetros de ruas. Mas, se você precisar, depois a gente troca uma informação mais detalhada, porque, assim, desses 40 quilômetros de ruas e calçadas dos dois lados das ruas, né, metade delas já tinha pavimentação. Tá? Mas aí a gente tem custo para cada tipo de unidade, para a largura que foi usada, né, de cada uma das unidades, mas o que a gente aplicou mais foi a calçada drenante, que era mais eficiente por conta das dimensões das áreas que nós tínhamos onde aplicar a calçada drenante. O resto a gente aplicou mais com efeito educacional, de vitrine, dos tipos de soluções que poderiam ser empregadas. Agora, o sistema lá, como eu disse, não foi uma área nova, então a gente teve que ir procurando espaços para a implantação do sistema, mas o objetivo foi retardar o escoamento. Então, o objetivo não foi tanto a infiltração, porque já existia um sistema de galerias pluviais implantadas, mas só que esse sistema também alagava em determinados pontos. Então, nós dividimos a área em várias microbacias e verificamos a capacidade do sistema convencional existente. Então, aquele excedente, aquele volume excedente, a gente verificou qual a área de calçada de drenagem necessária, ou como eu completo com jardim de chuva, ou aquela própria solução do super tubo, que era o desenho, o esquema parecia um tubo de 1 metro, poderia confundir, achar que seria uma drenagem convencional, mas não era, é um tubo reservatório. Então, o objetivo era sempre retardar o escoamento, de modo que não eu pegasse o mesmo pico, né? Retardasse o pico do escoamento e a galeria pudesse começar a esvaziar, aí chegaria a água, o volume armazenado nas unidades de drenagem. Então, elas foram dimensionadas com esse conceito. Em alguns lugares, o nível do lençol freático não era conveniente, era muito raso, então nós tivemos várias dificuldades. Por isso que eu falo, a gente foi encaixando qual o tipo de solução que era possível ali numa determinada rua, numa determinada área. Tá? Mas aí depois, se vocês quiserem, a gente pode trocar os dados que nós conseguimos do projeto executivo, e como a obra foi contratada, está sendo construída, a gente vai poder checar se houve alguma uma mudança em relação à estimativa que a gente fez na época do projeto executivo. Tá ok? Obrigada.
Obrigada.
Yeah, then the question about how to persuade the people or the politicians and the planners to implement that. I would see that from different points of view, looking from the, let's say, Hamburg or Global North point of view, where we have existing sewer systems which are an expensive infrastructure, which we simply cannot replace in once, because that would kill every community in money terms. This is the one thing which is, let's say, which has to be adapted in the one or the other point in order to work also for the future in general. But for the in front of the background of climate change, where we have changed precipitation patterns, the SUDs, green infrastructure, and hybrid solutions are seen as a comparatively cheap add-on to the existing extremely expensive sewer system. So I would say that this is quite easy to implement that, and you can see that if you look at Copenhagen, Netherlands, Hamburg, all the bigger cities, they simply do that in a way. If you go to, let's say, Sao Paulo, for example, where the let's say sewer system is so-so, and there it's more the question to implement a functional system which is planned not from scratch, but which is planned and which gives then a planned environment. And there, it's, from my point of view, it's the combination between gray, green infrastructure is a must in a way. So for me, it's more a question to Sao Paulo to have a functioning system, which then is, let's say, working from not two aspects, with two subsystems. So the gray subsystem and the let's say green or subsystem, in order to unpave the environment.
So I would like to thank everyone for being here, for attending this section. And I think we could close the section and see you tomorrow. Good night, good evening, have a good rest. See you. 8:30 tomorrow morning.
Let's go. Water, climate, air pollution, and
Mariam, please ask you to give your